All right, let's get right into it. We're opening case file 734. Now, this isn't your standard psychological profile. We're looking at a clinical breakdown of let's call it a radical procedure, one designed not just to heal, but to completely unmake and then rebuild a consciousness from the ground up. Let's begin. This quote, this is really the core diagnosis. It paints such a vivid, grim picture, doesn't it? Imagine someone so focused on performing for an audience that doesn't even exist, they don't even notice the very ground they're standing on is crumbling into ash. That's the pathology we're about to dissect. So, first things first, the diagnosis. Our subject is what the file calls the Stargazer, and they're trapped, not in a physical prison, but in a gilded cage of their own making, a fortress built from illusions and hollow performances. So what does it actually mean to be a stargazer? Well, it means you're living inside an architecture of stagnation. Think of it this way. Every action, every word is a ritual. It's a performance meant to project this image of perfection and control. But it's all a mask. It's a facade. And underneath it all, there's a kind of spiritual rot setting in. The official name for this condition is the Pharisees' paradox. And the name itself really tells you everything. It points to this critical and ultimately fatal disconnect. You have this outward show of virtue, of having it all together, but it's a cover for a psyche, an inner world that is in a state of terminal collapse. Now, for a condition this severe, traditional therapy is basically useless. The prescribed treatment is, well, it's something far more radical. It's a kind of controlled demolition of the self, a procedure they call the wild hunt. And let's be absolutely crystal clear here. The wild hunt is not designed to be a comforting experience. The files describe it as a spiritual surgery performed without anesthesia. Its purpose isn't to mend the ego or patch things up. The goal is to shatter it, to break the patient's false reality into a million pieces. So how in the world do you perform a surgery like this? You need special instruments, 2 of them to be exact. On one side, you have the ebony clock tower. This is all about external pressure. It weaponizes mortality itself, that constant, relentless ticking clock that reminds you time is running out. It just completely dismantles the illusion that you have forever. Then, on the other side, you have the verdant dragon. This is the internal pressure. It's like a mirror forced in front of your face, reflecting every single failure you've suppressed, every lie you've told yourself. Together, these two create this state of agonizing clarity. They leave you with nowhere to hide. And throughout this whole brutal process, nothing is left to chance. You see, the watchful ravens act as agents of the superego. You can think of that as your own relentless internal judge. Their constant scrutinizing presence makes sure the psychological pressure is absolute. There is no escape, no mental corner to hide in. You have to face it. Okay, so what if the subject survives this? What happens after their ego has been shattered? Well, it's not some instant recovery. What comes next is a very structured post-operative metamorphosis. It's a 3-stage transformation meant to build a brand new consciousness out of the wreckage. This path is it's incredible. First, the spirit becomes the camel. It learns to carry the full, unfiltered weight of reality without any illusions. That's the foundation of strength. Then it transforms into the lion. Now it has the power not just to endure, but to actively fight back and reject all the hollow values it used to serve. That's the rebellion. And finally, if it succeeds, it emerges as the child, a new creator who looks at the void and sees not an end, but pure, infinite potential. This entire journey, the diagnosis, the brutal surgery, the transformation, it has all been building toward a single critical moment, the final prognosis. A point where the newly forged spirit is faced with a fundamental and, totally irreversible choice. This choice is called the Crimson Gift. But don't let the name fool you. This isn't a prize. It's a burden. It's the moment the subject has to decide, once and for all, on the entire logic of their existence from that point forward. And here it is, the ultimate choice, laid bare. You've got the logic of zero. This is the path of surrender. A peaceful release, an end to all the struggle and burden of consciousness. It's sort of inspired by that Freudian death instinct, thanatos. Then you have the logic of one. This is the total opposite. It's the path of sovereignty. It means choosing to embrace the friction and the struggle of existence, to affirm your will to live, and to become the master of your own domain. And this is why that metamorphosis was so important. You need the camel's endurance to even face this choice, the lion's strength to choose one, and the child's creativity to build something from it. And that choice, well, it determines everything. It's the final act that completes the entire transformation. It decides whether the subject becomes just another cautionary tale or a new kind of person entirely. Let's really look at what that change means. This really shows the before and after, and the shift is just profound. The stargazer starts as a passive symptom, right? An echo, always looking up at an empty sky for validation, totally trapped in their own lies. But by choosing the logic of one, they become the sovereign master. And this isn't just a new label, it's a whole new way of being. They're no longer a symptom, they're the lightning that cuts its own path. They stop looking up for approval and root themselves firmly in the earth, in reality. They stop performing and they start creating, forging real, authentic meaning where before there was nothing but a void. And so, this whole clinical breakdown, it ends by turning the lens back on us. It stops being about a theoretical subject in a case file and becomes a direct existential question. It forces you to ask yourself, if every one of your comforts, every illusion, every polite lie was systematically burned away, what would be left of you? 0 or 1?